speaking of like college right now, college football is entering into week 3 today. It's hard to believe we missed week 2. Obviously, personal life kind of took over. A lot of things have happened, but let me say this: Texas, y'all let me down. You let both of us down because we did pick you guys to win in week 1 against Ohio State. Ohio State looks like they're the number 1 team again, and they have a very young quarterback and a very good defense. I should have known that Matt Patricia's defense was going to be a problem for young Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning, man, all eyes are on him, and poor kid, because this is his first year really getting a true start. But like, we're all in the NFL, we're looking at him like, is this kid legit? Wait, he might be a bust. He's not even top 10. He's not Peyton Manning. It's just tough. It's tough. I will say, I think with Arch, he's going to grow into the player that we all want him to be as the season goes. Like, he played a tough opponent. It was just tough. He didn't look bad later in the game, but he snuck it up for 3 quarters. I think in the through 2 quarters, he had like 58 yards, interception. I was like, ooh, yeah. Peyton and Eli are going to turn on that tape and be like, hey, you should audible out of that. Hey, watch your protection. Hey, watch this. So he's going to get better as the season goes. But speaking of matchups, we do have 3 this week that really matter. The first one being Georgia traveling to Tennessee. Tennessee, hold on. Let me look it up real quick so I can give you guys accurate information. Right. I think Tennessee got lost last week. Let me check here. I will tell you in a second, because I think they won big. I'm sorry, they're 2-0. They won big against East Tennessee State. Again, that's a team they're going to probably outclass. Probably a money game for them. They won 72-17, right? So they play. This is an important game for both teams, right? Coming into this week, because Tennessee is looking to plead their case for the playoffs, and of course, Georgia, and not just the playoffs, but they're trying to win the East. They're trying to. Well, I don't even know their divisions. They're trying to get to Atlanta to play the SEC championship. Georgia has kind of been on top. They've been the class of the conference for many years, but they got clipped once last year by Alabama and I think another team. So this is a game that has really high importance for the conference and for playoff contention. I will say that Georgia did struggle on the road a little bit last year. They went on the road and lost 2 head scratchers. I think they lost to Texas as well as Alabama on the road. But I think Tennessee's quarterback is not as good as what people really think, and I think Georgia's defense is really, really good. So I will take defense over offense on the road, because at the end of the day, defense will travel versus the offense, and I think Georgia is going to take care of business against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Georgia's going to win also. I just think the experience and the coaching staff on both sides of the ball is. I don't exactly know how to explain it, but the experience that the coaching staff has and the way that they run the program is a level of strictness and intensity and power that you don't see in a lot of programs, at least in games nationally. Obviously, we don't know what happens behind closed doors, but it's also a mental game for Tennessee, because they've been the little brother for so long to them that they have to beat their mind before they can beat them on the field. And I think, the Bulldogs are only favored by 3.5. But you have to remember that the home team gets 3 points in these spreads. So I think that it's going to be a wider margin of victory for Georgia. I think Tennessee will come out tough. I think they have a better team than they have in years past, and they just get repeatedly knocked down by Georgia, but this is Georgia's game to lose.
I think so too. So you're going Georgia. We're both on UGA. Go Dogs! All right. Next one. This one is like crazy, because we had Boise State winning against South Florida. If you remember this in, I think, week 0, right? And they completely they said, hey, there's no Ashton Genty there anymore. So, Ashton Genty. So, we're going to beat these guys. And now, so South Florida, you look up, they're ranked. They're 2-0 in the season. They go down and they have a little bit of a South Florida classic between two teams that are looking to kind of make their statement. And on the schedule, if you would have told me, hey, South Florida's going to be ranked 18th and this game's actually going to mean something, I would have been like, nah, you're crazy. South Florida is like not on Miami's level. I mean, don't get me wrong, Miami hasn't been the U in some time since the early 2000s when they had like Ed Reed and all those guys. But this is crazy that this is a game. Now, what I will say is South Florida has been on a great run. I do think they're going to do very well this year. But it's just one of those things that Miami is a very good team. They look great against Notre Dame. That was another pick we got wrong, right? But Miami looks like they should take care of it. They open at 17.5 favorites. I don't know. I'm going to say this. I think that South Florida covers the spread.
Yeah.
I think that they will at least, I think they'll lose by a couple touchdowns, but I do have this being like a 31 to like 17 deal. I think it's going to be a tougher game than what you really think it's going to be, but I think Miami has more depth, like quality depth, to kind of outclass South Florida at this point. So I'm going to lean towards Miami. I don't think there's going to be an upset here for Miami. This is their game to lose, as you say, and they got to show themselves to be a threat to Clemson, right? Clemson looks like they're not the team they were last year. They lost a very uncharacteristic game in Death Valley against LSU, and then they did not look good the next week. I think they lost. They got upset. So they're like 1-1 right now. They're not looking too good coming into this year. So they got to show that they're ready to take over the ACC. And it looks like Florida State and Miami are back.
Yeah, and I still look at South Florida as being in the American Conference because I went to East Carolina and we, played them. But I also attended a game when ECU lost by 30 points and they allowed like 63 points to South Florida. So, it always seemed like South Florida was misplaced in the American. So they are definitely a better team with better players that they recruit, better resources, I would say, than teams in that conference when I was going to school there. But I do think there are different tiers at this point. Miami is in a higher tier than South Florida, and it'll be a true testament to see just how good South Florida is. I'm excited to look at and see how they stack up, what they're successful against and what they're not. So I'll learn a lot about South Florida, I think, in this game, but I'm not concerned about Miami losing the game. But like you said, I do think South Florida covers because 17.5 is a lot.
It's disrespectful a little bit. You're playing an actual decent opponent, like Vegas. Like, come on, give them at least 14. I do have them at least covering that. All right, so we got Miami in that one. Next final game of the week is going to be Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. Texas A&M is on the road against Notre Dame. Now, let me say this: Texas A&M has a very stout defense. They always have. They had Shamar last year, who was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was a disruptor last year, but he wasn't the only person in that defense. They have a lot of those players returning this year. They still look good. The question mark you always have with Texas A&M is their offense. You watch them play. They kind of get in spots sometimes where they can get stagnant. And then with Notre Dame, it's just like it's Notre Dame, right? And I don't mean this out of being disrespectful. They're a very good, historically great football program, but they always play so close to the chest, right? You're just like, you should blow this team out. Why are you like coming down to the wire against Army? And then they fell short against Miami a couple weeks ago in week 1. So we lost that pick. And we had Notre Dame. Look, we were all on Notre Dame because they had a returning quarterback, and I thought he was going to rise to the occasion. Now, let me say this. I think that Notre Dame has to win this game. They really do have to win this game. They are ranked, and I meant to put their ranking. They are ranked, but they have to have a case for the playoffs. And in these type of games, if you lose against Texas A&M, the committee is not going to put you in the playoffs. It's a 12-team playoff. And right now, they are still within the top 15 ranked right now. But they need to kind of get that signature win. And so I'm going to say that I'm going to rock with Notre Dame because they're at home. But if this was on the road, I would have Notre Dame losing. I think they're a better team at home because I think they have the fan base that they're rowdy up there at South Bend. And I think because of that, they barely, and I mean edge out by the skin of their teeth like a 20-17 game against Texas A&M. It's going to be a defensive slugfest. It's not going to be a high scoring one. I'm going to take Notre Dame 20-17 at home. And I think the home team's going to win this because they're at home.
Yeah, so to not make this segment boring, I'll just take Texas A&M because we need to have something different here.
Yeah,
but you brought up a good point about how Notre Dame needs to have a statement win. Well, so does Texas A&M. They're right on the outside. They're ranked 16th. They showed that they can play with the best teams so far this year. And they're looking at it as an opportunity, too, to be able to go on the road, upset a team, push them even further away from the playoff. And Notre Dame's favored by less than a touchdown at home, so that lets me know that the committee thinks that this game could swing either way. And, we'll just go Texas A&M because why not?
Hey, man, crazy 12th man. Can they take the power of the 12th man on the road? We will have to see. So those are our 3 games this week. Typically, our rules with pick'ems is I like to go rank games. I know there are a couple of games that I will give you an example, like Georgia Tech, and I believe they're playing. It was interesting because they weren't ranked, but I'll give you the statistic for them because they actually were favored against a ranked opponent. I was like, nah. They're playing Clemson. Yeah, they play Clemson. So they're favored by 2.5 points. And look, Clemson cannot afford to lose another game. I believe they lose another game. They're going to be calling for Dabble seat's going to get a little bit warmer. The patience is running out there in Death Valley or Clemson, South Carolina. And they have got to look good. So if they lose today against Georgia Tech, and they are 2.5 points favorites, and Georgia Tech looks damn good. They have a great running game. They went into Colorado and pretty much outpowered Deion Sanders and his guys. At the time, I think Colorado was on the outside looking in as far as the top 25. They needed a win to get into the top 25. So they had some players, despite losing all that talent they had last year. But we'll see. That's another game I think you should be watching for as well. I'm not going to pick it because it wasn't our top 3, but we'll see. Before we move on. We have a bad record
of our life, man.
We have a bad. Yeah, it will. But I'm gonna keep it entertaining. We have a bad track record with these colleges, so I'm picking you guys out of faith. I know. You went Texas A&M. So, but look, we have had losing records since week 0. I'm gonna have at least a 2-1 start. So, come on, guys. Let's get together.